Welcome to Movie Speeching. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take good care. Extraordinary is the name of the movie. Please like and subscribe to get every update. In this alternate Earth, everyone gets superpowers at age 18, from flying to controlling the elements. Yet Jen is 25 years old and still hasn't found herself, which makes her very bitter. During a job interview, she discovers that her boss's power forces people to tell the truth, causing her to say a lot of embarrassing things and miss opportunities. In the evening, Jen meets up with her occasional partner Luke. As soon as they finished, Luke waited for Jen to enter the bathroom and flew out the window. Jen doesn't feel appreciated because he always does the same things. The next day, Carrie, Jen's roommate, is working at a law firm. Her power allows her to let the souls of dead people take over her body for a few minutes, so lawyers use it to solve cases. Unfortunately, this made the customer angry at her for getting in the way. In the afternoon, Jen came home and found a lost cat in front of the door, so she let it in. She then sees Carrie's boyfriend Cash trying on a homemade superhero costume and mocks him for it. Embarrassed, Cash uses his powers to reverse time and quickly closes the door so Jen won't see him. Soon after, Carrie also came over and cried as she shared that she was tired of being bullied by customers, so Jen told her to stop. But Carrie couldn't because she had to support Cash until he found a job. Then, to lighten the mood, Carrie channels Hitler so they can mock him. Later, Carrie goes on a date with Gordon, who refuses to shake her hand without gloves because he can make people instantly orgasm with just a touch. After a nice dinner together, they go to Jen's house, but Gordon refuses to use his powers, wanting to prove that he can be naturally good towards women. He kissed her plastic between their faces and made mischief with the glove, but he was horrible so Jen had to pretend. Later, Gordon falls asleep after placing a pillow shield between him and Jen to avoid touching her while she sleeps. Meanwhile, Cash and Carrie are walking on the street when suddenly an invisible man grabs Carrie's phone and demands her wallet. Instead of reversing time, Cash throws her purse and grabs Carrie and runs away. Cash then admitted that fighting the thief made him feel good, so he wanted to become a real superhero. The next morning, Jen woke up and decided to touch Gordon, but she was dumbfounded when she saw the cat jumping on the bed. The cat eventually touches Gordon first and wakes him up by screaming his passion. Disgusted, Gordon leaves and tells Jen that they are not compatible. Then at breakfast, the trio decided to herd the cat and call him Jizzlord because of what he did in bed. In the evening, Jen took a taxi to attend her half-sister's birthday party. The driver has the ability to predict when someone will die, but refuses to tell her the details, only saying that she needs to watch out for bears. During the trip, she receives a call from her father, who reminds her to be a good sister. Inside the house, Jen meets her mother Mary, who has the ability to manipulate technology, but she cannot control it, and her partner Ian, who can feel emotions. Jen's half-sister, Andy, turns 18 tonight and Jen starts an argument by pointing out that she might not have any power. Therefore, Ian must use his abilities to defuse the situation. When Andy finally blew out the candles, she waited for her powers to appear, but nothing happened. Jen smugly enjoys the moment, but when Andy opens the refrigerator, she rips the door open. Excited, Andy begins to demonstrate her new super strength. Jen bitterly leaves while drinking. At that time, Jen decided to visit Luke, who had been ignoring her messages. She finds him having dinner with another woman who has the ability to shapeshift, but she barely uses it, implying that she is naturally beautiful, which upsets Jen. Luke then took the girl on a flight, so Jen forced him to do the same with her. The trip was short and Luke left Jen on the street, saying their story was over because Jen couldn't love anyone if she didn't love herself. On the way home, Jen called her father to hear some words of comfort. However, when she arrives, she discovers that her father is dead and Carrie has summoned his ghost when Jen needs assistance. The next day, Jen and Carrie go to the Discovery Clinic to find out what treatments can help her awaken her powers. However, all of these were extremely expensive and she could not afford them. That night, while Jen was sleeping, Jizzlord suddenly transformed into a human, then quickly transformed back into a cat before Jen could see him. Jen's next idea is to unleash her power through stress, so she goes to a restaurant with her friends to eat the spiciest dish on the menu. Unfortunately, she couldn't take it and ran to the store to drink an entire bottle of milk, which was seen by Luke and security cameras, making the moment even more awkward. The next day, Carrie takes Jen to the dentist for another stress test. Jen tries to escape, but Carrie pulls her inside and they begin to hear menacing music. The dentist's power is to make people create their own soundtrack, and when she shows off how soft she is, Jen's music goes from menacing to relaxing. Unfortunately, the dentist announced that Jen's tooth needed a filling and his music became scary again. To help her calm down, the dentist gave her medicine. Meanwhile, Cash contacts a company to place an ad about superheroes. In the other room, Jizzlord turns into a man again, but he has trouble walking like a human. He scratches the door to get Cash's attention, but when Cash comes to see him, Jizzlord turns into a cat. Back to Jen, she ended the date in a state of complete shock. Carrie takes her outside and they suddenly see a masked man grab Jen and push her into the trunk of the car. It was Cash who hatched this fake fake kidnapping plan with Carrie to add to the tension. The couple decided to stop for lunch and let Jen suffer for a bit, but Jen was so giddy that she left a voicemail for Luke telling him how much she loved him. Cash and Carrie were so distracted that they didn't realize the car was being towed until it was too late. Carrie calls Jen to ask about her pinned location, and as the couple rushes to the parking lot, Cash admits that the car belongs to his mother and he doesn't have a license, so he can't get it back legally. Finally, they sneak into the detention area only to realize that they don't have the car keys, and to make matters worse, the effects of the drugs wear off and Jen begins to panic. They have no choice but to call Andy, who smugly asks Jen to ask nicely. Jen pretends to be nice and Andy easily rips the trunk lid off. Jen then tried to hit her, so Carrie had to separate the two sisters. Suddenly, they hear a car horn and the girls are horrified to see Mary and Ian coming to pick them up. While Mary scolded her daughter, Jen remembered that she left Luke a voicemail and asked her mother to delete it. Mary tries, but she still can't control her powers and ends up having to play the message through the car speakers. Andy suggests Jen spam Luke to distract him from his voicemail. When Jen gets home, she starts taking naughty pictures to send to Luke. Suddenly she saw Giselor turn into a man and she ran out of the room in panic. But she also wondered if she had the ability to transform animals by showing them her breasts. Her friends join her and the guy explains that he is a shapeshifter trapped in his cat form. He then hugs Cash, happy that humans can see his true face again while revealing that he has amnesia. The trio continued calling him Giselord and asked a few questions, heard some of what he could remember, and concluded that he had been a cat for about 3 years. Jen decides they should keep him until he regains his memory. Soon after, Jen received a text from Luke, who saw the photo but also heard the voicemail and thought Jen was strange. That evening, Jen was walking and saw a dog, so she pointed at its chest to test her theory. The dog remained the same and his owner finally saw him. The next morning, the friends learned that Giselord has forgotten how to use many basic household items and will therefore need a lot of help. At work, Carrie channels the soul of a famous singer who turns down a contract to transport her music in a cruise ship elevator and instead asks to return to the industry. After the meeting, the manager makes Carrie an offer. She can work with them by manipulating dead celebrities to blackmail them again. Carrie happily accepts. When she arrived at the studio, she called Jen and asked her to come for emotional support, promising to pay her. This gives Jen an idea and she shows up at the studio as Carrie's manager, which allows her to strike a lucrative deal with Carrie. When it comes time to record, Carrie channels the singer of her choice, only to discover that he is difficult to work with and very misogynistic. The ghost even asks Jen to help him remember his lyrics, and after he disappears, Carrie searches for his songs only to find that they are all racist and homophobic. Carrie is uncomfortable and wants to quit, but Jen convinces her to stay because of the money. Hoping the ghost's bad memory won't go unnoticed, Carrie changes the song a bit to be less offensive, but unfortunately the singer hates the good message and makes a big scene. Both Carrie and Jen were fired immediately. Returning home, Cash interviews the group of candidates for his superhero team. Seb can summon sea creatures but cannot control them, and he can make a fish fly out a window. Because his family was rich, Cash still recruited him. Ade can move through solid objects but ends up getting his hand stuck in a wall, but he is also recruited. A woman with magnetic powers but ends up attracting every object in the house due to lack of control, so Cash turns her down to the guy who can turn everything into PDF and who has lasers in his eyes cannot do anything. Randall can use his rear end to 3D print objects, which he demonstrates by creating a figurine. Finally, Gregor is lightning fast, proving it by bringing back a postcard from the British Museum in just 1 second. Later, Cash was preparing for his first official meeting when Giselord suddenly brought him a dead pigeon. Not wanting him to embarrass her in front of the others, Cash sends Giselord shopping. At the store, Giselord was overwhelmed by everything and saw products for women that made him faint. The employee immediately helped him and gave him a book on female anatomy to better understand the product. Returning to Cash, he meets his new superhero friends and notices Gregor taking over the writing on the board. Gregor also had a lot to say and Cash felt like he was trying to steal his leadership. After Randall marks him with his butt, they discuss how they would act if they saved a woman, and Gregor says he should be the leader because he respects all women, while Cash asserts that he was the best choice because he was an expert on women. Seb draws women's private parts on the board and asks Cash to find a happy place that Cash doesn't know about. Luckily, Giselord returned and helped him, so Cash remained the leader. When Carrie and Jen arrive home, they hear strange noises and find Cash and Giselord playing a game they built using ladies' products, so they all play together. Sometime later, the lover came back because he forgot his umbrella and suddenly got involved with Giselord, meaning he was microchipped. The group decides to take Giselord to see Dr. Doolittle, a veterinarian who can communicate with animals. His stress level was quite high because he constantly heard their screams, so he used headphones to keep quiet. When Jen brings Giselord over, Doolittle immediately finds the microchip and gives them the previous owner's address. Later, Cash and Carrie go to work when suddenly Cash receives a text from his new team about a mission. He tells Carrie they can finish this another time, and Carrie feels hurt, so Cash rewinds time to say something nicer, but he still leaves. To distract herself, Carrie goes to Jen's room to start cleaning, and her frustration makes Jen realize that Cash hasn't satisfied Carrie in a while. Soon after, Jen discovered Luke had left a sock behind and sent him a photo of it. She also found Gordon's glove. Jen points out that Carrie should go to Gordon and ask him to use his powers, but Carrie refuses to cheat. Later, Jen and Jizzlord finally visit the microchip's address and learn that its owner has died. Just then, they hear Tito the Pomeranian barking, and Jizzlord describes him as evil, making them realize that he has met him before. The duo decide to steal Tito from his owner and take him to Doolittle, who translates the dog's message. Tito hates Jizzlord and will not share any information until they give him a day in Dream. Doolittle also needed rest, so he joined them. The group ends up at a club where Tito enjoys receiving lots of attention from beautiful women. Others drink a lot and even drink a little alcohol. When Jen and Jizzlord receive a private dance from a woman playing herself, they feel too uncomfortable and hold hands to support each other. Soon, Doolittle gets so drunk that he begins harassing the dancers, and the bouncers chase the group out. Luckily, Tito was very cheerful and shared that he once met Jizzlord all the way down an alley behind a famous pub. He then asked them to let him go so he could finally be free, but as soon as he took a few steps, he was hit by a car. Jen and Jizzlord then go into the alley to look for clues, and Jizzlord shocks himself by recounting the pub menu. Jen thinks they should go inside to find the landlady, but Jizzlord panics and runs away. Meanwhile, Cash's superhero team tries to help someone on the street, but they instead scare her and accidentally activate her slime powers, making her angry at them. At that time, a man asked for help because he did not have access to his apartment, so they chose Ade for the task. He has to strip naked to use his powers, and when he starts going through the wall, he ends up stuck with his rear end exposed. Gregor decides to leave Cash with Ade and takes the others to a bar. Moments later, Cash receives a call from Gregor asking for his help. Cash rushed off to find his teammates, leaving Ade alone. The group is now fighting outside the bar, and Gregor wants Cash to go back in time to avoid him, but Cash can only go back for 10 seconds, and that's still not enough no matter how much he goes back in time, no matter how many times. Suddenly, a thug attacks Cash, who pretends not to know the others and runs away. At home, Carrie finally resolves her lack of satisfaction and goes to see Gordon under the pretense of returning the glove to him. She begins to cry and beg for help, but when Gordon reaches out, Carrie admits that she cannot do this. To apologize, she calls Gordon a hero for helping her, which puts Gordon in a much better mood, and he now starts helping other women. While Carrie reunites with Cash, Jen finds Jizzlord outside their apartment and tells him that the pub is a dead end. They bond over their fear of knowing who they really are, and just as they are about to get closer, they are interrupted by a text from Luke asking for his sock. The next day, Ade was still glued to the wall before his eyes. Meanwhile, Jen and Carrie go to Andy's old high school for graduation, and Carrie can't help but imagine what it would be like to have a perfect graduation ceremony. When another student's mother approaches the family, Mary claims that Jen can read minds, but the lie backfires when Jen laughs when the woman tries to tell her telepathically that a teacher died. At that moment, Ian sensed that someone nearby was in trouble, so he covered his eyes to increase his strength and find that person. Frustrated, Jen pulls Carrie into the closet to drink the wine they hid there years ago. Suddenly, they panic when they hear the voice of Rebecca, the girl who bullied them in high school, but now she is very good and even works as a teacher. Rebecca explains that she has the ability to review memories, which makes her realize how horrible she is and makes her a better person. Jen didn't believe it and asked for money as an apology. After Rebecca paid, she noticed Carrie was very stressed and took her to the staff room for tea. Now that they are alone, Rebecca is able to point out that Jen is a terrible friend to Carrie and proves it by showing her some school memorabilia. On the day Carrie was supposed to receive the award, Jen made her stay for emotional support while she took a pregnancy test. Then, on graduation day, Jen didn't want her mother to know she dropped out and borrowed Carrie's graduation dress but didn't return it in time, so Carrie's photo was ruined. Rebecca tells Carrie that she needs to defend herself. Meanwhile, Jen hides in the bathroom drinking wine and overhears Andy talking to his girlfriend. It turns out Andy lied about going to the conservatory and no longer dating his girlfriend, both of which are consequences of her super strength. As soon as her ex leaves, Jen confronts Andy, who agrees to do anything if Jen keeps it a secret. The sisters return to the party and Jen forces Andy to do the family dance, embarrassing her in front of everyone. Jen then gives Andy an embarrassing speech to read. When Andy received the award, she read the terrible words and became angry, so she decided to make fun of her sister, forcing Jen to reveal her secret. A heartbroken Andy runs away in tears, and Ian realizes that the person he feels is in distress is his own daughter. Then it was time for Carrie to give her own speech, but she could barely speak because Jen's family was arguing in the next room and could hear it from the auditorium. Carrie realizes that Rebecca was right about Jen and goes to hide in the bathroom. Just then, Jen walks in and starts complaining about her life, causing Carrie to break down and criticize her for her selfishness, pointing out that not having power is no reason to become a bad person. An argument occurs and Carrie runs away, leaving Jen to cry alone. At the apartment, Jizzlord finds Cash depressed in the bathtub, feeling guilty for the way he acted last night. Jizzlord brushes his hair and shows him a video of falling penguins to cheer him up, but when they browse the video website, they discover that the recording of Cash running away from the fight has been recorded. Spread widely, Cash's mood immediately plummeted. Over the next few days, Jen and Carrie stopped speaking to each other, so Jizzlord had to act as an intermediary. One morning, Jen finds red dots on most of the items in the apartment and learns that Carrie has labeled her belongings to prevent Jen from using them. Because she rarely buys things for the house, Jen can only eat one purple onion for breakfast. Jen then went to an exploratory clinic, determined to have these tests done. While filling out paperwork, she meets Hannah, another girl in her 20s with no powers. The girls go to a bar and bond over their experiences of powerlessness. Then they saw a woman who could change her hair color. They were so bitter that they went into the bathroom and cut off her ponytail as a joke because her power could make it grow back. However, they soon discovered that they had cut the woman's hair by mistake, so they had to flee. At the apartment, Carrie finds Cash's video embarrassing and tells him to apologize to his friends and start over. Cash liked the idea and went to find his teammates, so Jizzlord took the opportunity to ask Carrie why she and Jen were fighting. While Carrie criticizes Jen, she finds their puzzle collection and thinks about their fun times playing, then laments that they didn't complete them together. When Jen returns, she says she has a new best friend and claims the puzzle collection belongs to her, so Carrie retaliates by refusing to summon Jen's father. Meanwhile, Cash visits Seb, who goes to Florida to forget what happened. Cash apologizes and gives him chocolate, making Seb cry and hug him when he asks to come. Later, Cash and Seb visit Ade, who accepts Cash's apology and agrees that they should reunite the team. They later visit Gregor and Cash tries to apologize but discover that Gregor and Randall have formed their own team with the other rejects. Gregor begins to taunt his former teammate and Cash, angry, challenges him to a fight. Because Gregor has super speed, Cash lost quite quickly, so in the end he decided to go back in time and hit Gregor as soon as he opened the door. He then invites Randall to join them. Later, Jen meets Hannah and is shocked to learn that she won't be coming to the clinic anymore. The girls decide to spend the day having fun together and discuss the idea of forming a group for people without powers while shooting toy darts at flying people. Just then, Luke walks by and Jen hides the toy gun, which upsets Hannah. To make up for it, Jen agreed to sneak into the clinic to clean up office trash, even going to the bathroom on her desk. Suddenly, Hannah disappears and discovers that she has teleportation powers, and when Jen becomes jealous, Hannah promises that nothing will change between them. However, when a guard found them, Hannah immediately disappeared. Later, at the apartment, Jen checks social media and is upset to discover that Hannah is spending time with Luke. Jizzlord tells him that Carrie wants to complete the puzzle together, indicating that they should make up. Jen goes to meet Carrie and they begin to solve the puzzle, which starts awkwardly but gradually rekindles their friendship. The next day, Carrie took Jen to the clinic so she could complete the paperwork. Trying to be less selfish, Jen asks Carrie about her problems, and Carrie admits that since Cash got his team back, their relationship has been strained. Jen then tried to sell her eggs to get money for treatment, but no one wanted to buy them. Watching Jizzlord gave him an idea. He should enter a cat show and win thanks to his human intelligence. However, Jizzlord refused to transform because he did not want to be trapped again. Meanwhile, Carrie returns to her corporate job and tracks down Charles II, who constantly flirts with her. Carrie was so flattered and enchanted by him that later, at home, she called him again and they spent the whole afternoon talking. She used a mirror to show Charles what she looked like and he flattered her even more. She then tries to have a full day with Cash, but he has a mission and promises to see her later. Frustrated, Carrie decides to take Charles's ghost to the museum, where he sees the pictures they drew of him. Charles begins flirting with her and Carrie almost kisses his portrait, but a guard stops her just in time. Carrie returns home and hears Jen scream when she discovers Jizzlord has eaten cat food to transform again. He even left a recording agreeing to be taken to the cat show. When they try to enter, Jen uses the name of the cat on the chip and everyone gets excited because that cat is always a hit in this contest. Jen searches for old show videos and discovers that Jizzlord's talent section is dancing. She tried to make him do the moves now for practice, but Jizzlord didn't understand her and she thought about giving up. However, she heard Jizzlord's messages of support and decided to make him proud, so she came up with a plan. When it was time to play, Jen tried to get the cat to jump through the hoop, but it wouldn't listen. She then starts dancing and Jizzlord becomes human to join her. They danced a wonderful and fun dance together, but the judges didn't approve and they had to leave. On the way out, Jizzlord tries to apologize, but Jen kisses him instead. In an abandoned building, Cash's group searches for drug dealers and discovers that Gregor's group is also there. An argument occurred until they heard footsteps, so everyone quickly hid in the closet. Hours pass and the teams don't go out because Cash doesn't want to share the glory, so the others mock him for choosing his own ego instead of going on a date. At the apartment, Carrie dines with Charles II and has a good time. Just as things are about to get messy, Cash shows up and announces that he's leaving the superhero business, which makes Carrie very happy. However, when Cash picked up pizza and YouTube again, she started to wonder if they were really okay. The next day, the press reported that two superhero teams had worked together to defeat drug traffickers. Jen wakes up to find Jizzlord painting the bedroom wall, assuming they are now a couple who will live together. After explaining to him that everything happened so fast, Jen and Carrie talk. Jen talked to her father again, then she advised Carrie to be honest with Cash. Carrie tries to break up with him, but he announces that he's throwing a party for her, so she saves it for later. In the evening, Carrie was truly touched to see that Cash had personally decorated to celebrate his beloved girlfriend, but Jen reminded her to stand up for herself. Jen is then shocked to learn Mary is there, criticizing every aspect of the room and Jen's appearance. Frustrated, she sends him to talk to another guest who turns out to be Gordon, looking cooler and more confident. Mary gets involved and ends up talking to Jizzlord, who tells her that Jen can't afford the clinic. Mary was hurt and couldn't believe her daughter hadn't shared this with her family. Meanwhile, Carrie finally tells Cash that she feels more like his mother than his girlfriend. Cash wants to know how to solve this problem, so Carrie tells him to get a job. He then rewinds time, and before she can talk to him, he pretends to be on the phone to arrange an interview, impressing her. However, as soon as she was out of sight, Cash hid in the bathroom with Randall to panic because he was avoiding the breakup talk. It turns out Cash has been awake for 28 hours and goes back in time every time Carrie tries to break up with him. Randall gave him an energy drink to keep him going, then the duo went out and bought a bunch of cans. Jen watches them from afar until she meets Luke, worried because she ignored his texts. Suddenly, Jizzlord interrupts them and introduces himself as Jen's boyfriend, so she drags him away to scold him for going too fast and tells him they need to rest for a while. Just then, Cash told her that someone was in her room and Jen ran in to find her mother hacking into her computer. An argument ensues about their disastrous relationship, but things calm down when the subject of Jen's father's death comes up. Feeling guilty, Jen asks Mary to stay. Meanwhile, Cash tries to dance with Carrie, who notices a dead flower in his pocket. His flower is still alive and well, which makes him realize that Cash has gone back a lot in time. Carrie hides with Jen and they start complaining about Cash, not knowing that Jizzlord is leaving the apartment forever. Jen tells Carrie about the energy drinks, so Carrie goes into the bathroom to flush the can down the toilet while Jen sends Cash to spy on her. Crying, Carrie finally breaks up with him, and no matter how many times Cash rewinds, he can't stop it from happening. Back to Jen, she was excited when Luke offered to take her flying, but he refused to touch her in front of everyone and took her out. He then starts complaining about Jizzlord and Jen realizes he's just jealous. She defends Jizzlord and realizes how much he means to her, so she dumps Luke and returns to the party. Jen despairs when Jizzlord is nowhere to be found and goes out to search, chasing a cat down the street. When it starts to rain, Jen apologizes to the cat and asks him to be her boyfriend, only for Jizzlord to appear behind her. After the couple shared a passionate kiss, they returned to the apartment and Jen introduced Jizzlord as her boyfriend. Mary wants to help her daughter run the clinic, but it's too expensive for her, so Gordon steps in and gives the money. Thanks to selling his services, he is now recharged. The girls kiss in celebration and Jizzlord kisses Gordon, causing him to stain his pants. The next morning, Jizzlord went to the grocery store and a girl pointed at him saying he was her dad. Her mother quit shopping when she recognized his face. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.